At the center of this U.S. strategy in Venezuela is oil. The country holds the world's largest reserves, and President Trump just announced that the country will be turning over millions and millions of barrels to the United States at market price. That coming after NBC News learned that the U.S. Energy Secretary is in close contact with oil executives, including Chevron, about rebuilding Venezuela's infrastructure.
You cannot continue to have the largest oil reserves in the world under the control of adversaries of the Western Hemisphere, while the people of Venezuela have no electricity, substandard quality of life, and its profits don't benefit the people of Venezuela. The profits are stolen by a handful of oligarchs around the world.
Now let's go now to NBC News Chief White House Correspondent Peter Alexander. Peter, the president just posted about oil in Venezuela. What are we learning here?
Well, emphasizing the president prioritizing Venezuelan oil. Late tonight, he posted that the interim government there, the government of Delcy Rodríguez, will be turning over, as he says, 30 to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil to the U.S., which the president says will be sold here at its market price. He said it'll be taken by storage ships and brought directly to docks in the U.S. He adds that the money will be controlled by, in his words, me, to ensure that it's used to benefit the people of both Venezuela and the U.S. To give you a broad sense here, the U.S. produces roughly 13 million barrels a day. So the number he's talking about is roughly 3 or 4 days worth of oil. Clearly, this is going to raise questions about the future of the relationship between the U.S. and Venezuela. The president has said getting access to Venezuela's oil supply and rebuilding its infrastructure there, Gotti, is a priority, even before holding elections. In his interview with NBC News this week, he suggested American oil companies would be reimbursed for the money that they spend there. We should note that we have now learned that the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, is scheduled to meet with oil executives in Miami. That's supposed to happen tomorrow. Gotti?
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.